Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. And I'm going to help you. This is going to be heavy on business owners, right? But there's a lot that an individual can take away, right? So, what I want to discuss is if your business feels like you're not growing or you're kind of stuck or stagnant, all right, one of the things that really helped me grow my business is understanding who my ideal client was. All right. Now, everyone talks about this, but unless you actually roll up your sleeves and do the dirty work, you won't understand it. Okay. And so we went back the last 2 or 3 years of history when we started this exercise to figure out who our ideal client was. And it was not who we thought it was. All right. And I'll explain why all this is important. Okay. The first the first thing we thought was like, hey, we're helping business owners that need money. Some of them aren't going to have the best credit scores. Some will have the best credit scores, right? And that was not the case, right? We did all this data, and month after month after month, it's supported by this, right? Our ideal client is 7 years in business. Our average client, 7 years in business, 700 credit, doing seven figures at least a year. Does that mean we don't work with that? We don't help startups or people with bad credit? No, it doesn't. We help those people. We help people that reach out to us. Okay. We can work with startups. We can work with bad credit. We can work with almost anyone. When we go through the data, the average client that we were working with met those metrics, right? And why is this important? Well, it's super important because one of the things that you're doing as a business owner is you're trying to craft messages and solve problems for an ideal avatar. If you don't know who that is, the message isn't going to land. The other problem with that is if you don't know who that ideal avatar is, you don't know where to find them. Okay? It's kind of like playing hide and seek blindfolded, right? Think about it. When you go fishing, you need to know what fish you're going after. You need to know where that fish is. So what body of water, you need to know what bait to use, and you need to kind of have an idea of how that fish operates to know how to catch it. All right. Well, business is no different, guys. All right. And so unless you actually dial in and know who you are going after and who you're targeting, marketing's harder. Providing exceptional service is harder, right? All these things actually go together, right? Because as soon as I was able to dial in my ideal client, okay, my ideal avatar, right, all my services were tailored to that person, right? All my messaging and marketing was tailored to that person. So what happened when we figured this out? Our ads became more effective and impactful. Our messaging and our copy was way more impactful and effective. All right. And this happened throughout the entire company. And all it took was going back through years of data. And now, once you do it once, okay, once you do it once, you get a, what's it called? You get that profile. And then all you have to do is adjust monthly. Right. And so it's actually held up and it's been that way for a very, very long time. And so everything that we did, it kind of got us out of a little bit of a rut and allowed us to grow a lot faster. It also allowed us to become more profitable and it also allowed us to be offer way more to that ideal client in terms of service, programs, process, and we've been growing. All right. And that's all because we did the hard work that most people avoid. All right. And I have way more on this, but Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. And, we're all guilty of it. We want to help every single person from every avenue, from north, south, east to west, right? Like everywhere. But all you do is just spin your wheels, man. And you really, there's that old saying, right? The riches are in the niches, right? But I'm not necessarily saying, hey, be a specific one product or service, but focus on one specific target. Like I'll give you an example. Like with us, our sweet spot is in real estate. It really is. It doesn't matter if you're an investor or if you're a home buyer, right? All the tangibles are the same. And when it comes to that, with getting approvals and so forth, it starts with obviously credit score. That's the first foot in the door. And then what's the data say? It doesn't matter if you're getting an FHA. It doesn't matter if you're getting a conventional loan. It doesn't matter if you're going commercial. It doesn't matter if you're in private and DSCR, fix and flip. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. And that's the target, right? Like if you've bought a house within the last couple of years or even refinance, was the first thing that a realtor will always say. Now there's a gray area whether they should or shouldn't because of ethics, but they'll always say, hey, did you get a pre-approval? Did you come to the table with something that you could get a pre-approval with money? And what's the first thing in a pre-approval? What does your credit look like? Are you going to qualify or pre-qualify, or are you going to get disqualified? And that's always that. And that's our MO coming in. Why? Because most people don't really understand it coming to the buying process. The crazy thing is most realtors and even lenders don't even understand that either. So that's our focus coming in. Matter of fact, I have 2 events coming up here locally speaking about that. Hey, what goes on behind the scenes for somebody that's trying to get approved, right? This is our lane that we get in because we're the bridge between that gap. So now for the first time, I'm actually going to show that to a bunch of lenders and realtors and some title agents as to, hey, this is kind of what happens in between. Why? Because this is our lane. We want to help you guys understand too, because we're bridging that gap together. We're bringing it together. So yeah, it's super important in that lane. Why? So why now am I speaking on that? Because that's our lane. That's what we're known for. Of course, First United's going to invite me out. Of course, Joe's going to invite me on his podcast to speak about that. And I think that's the other thing that people miss too. When you stick to that lane, you start to become known for that. And you're breaking that marketing out there. You're breaking that awareness. Like, hey, here's Dave. He's not just in credit, right? Like, hey, here's Dave. Like, he helps people in real estate get approved for things relatively quickly. Like, that's the idea, is that's what he does. He gets people approved for real estate.
Yep. And that helps because it brings in more of your ideal client, right? And guys, how does this translate to someone that doesn't own a business? Well, the average person doesn't really specialize or become an expert in any one thing. All right. What can you do better than anyone else? And then the next question is, how do you monetize that? Right? How do you make that a career? Because that is where the secret sauce is. Okay. And there's a lot of people, and look, you're not going to figure it out overnight. Okay. If you're an individual, you know what you're really, really, really good at. Right. So figure out how to monetize that. But as a operator, as an entrepreneur, you got to go through the data, and then you got to use that data, and then you got to figure out, hey, where is this ideal client? What challenges does he have that I know I can help and I can fix and I can solve? Okay. What is the best way to communicate that? Right. So what type of messaging? Where do I put that messaging? You can even dial it into what time. I'll give you guys an example. When I was running massive sales floors for big lenders, okay, and they wanted restaurant tours, well, you don't want to call a pizza place at 12. You don't want to call a pizza place at 6. Why? Because you're not getting that guy on the phone, right? He's too busy. You have to understand and get in your client's head to understand when you can speak with them, when it's convenient for them, and that goes to giving them a higher and better level of service. All right. And there's so many different examples like that, right? Know the industry, know the person, know what their challenges are, right? What do they care about? What do they want out of the business? All right. This stuff all matters. And the more dialed in you can get it, the better. And I'm going to tell you guys, a mistake that a lot of people make, right, is you guys figure it out. Thank you, Matrix. You guys figure it out. And you start doing it, okay? And you start honing everything in, but you don't actively, continuously check it, all right? That's problematic because markets change, conditions change. So if all of a sudden, let's just say that my ideal client, the credit starts dipping and maybe it's not, they don't need equipment or invoice factoring SBA loans, they need working capital, right? That's a different conversation. That's a different message. And I'd never know that unless I was consistently updating and confirming the data. All right. And a lot of people it's a lot of work to do that. You have to have a team, or if you are if you have just a couple people, you might be up a couple late nights doing that stuff, guys. But it really does make that much of a difference. So look, I hope this helped you guys. All right. Dave, you have any final thoughts here?
No, man. I mean, you're spot on with everything. I mean, guys, it's really simple. I think we overcomplicate it. Take something you like and solve a problem in it that you don't like. And it's relatively simple. And besides those problems that you don't like, go to people that are either in business or even in life, as you said before. Like, how do you take that in life? Go to those people that and even ask them, hey, man, this is awesome industry. What don't you like about it? What's a problem that persists? Doesn't get any simpler than that.
Yeah, guys. And I'll tell you, it's crazy. Like, people that schedule in with us, we've seen the problem so many times that sometimes before they even start talking about it, we're telling them, hey, this is probably going on in your business, right? Yes. They think they're blown away. If you have a B2B business, right? Like logistics or manufacturing, or even a liquor distributor, okay, or commercial trades, right? Those companies that are waiting 30, 60 days to get paid, they all need the same solution. They all need invoice factoring because they need to speed up their cash flows. It's super easy, right? If it's a equipment intensive business, right? Like commercial trades, they're going to need equipment financing. Those are going to be their two big pain points. That's big. Brother, I got to tell you, I Matrix Edit. I wish I could figure out the guy's name. He showed me a lot on YouTube. The biggest thing that I've seen on YouTube is you got to be consistent. Long form, you need at least 8 to 10 minutes plus. And it's a lot of trial and error, meaning you need to see when people are falling off. What they like is they like long form content or short content in this manner. But when you do long form content, they're looking for that watch time, right? So if you set up a professional YouTube dashboard, and I'm not a pro, okay, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night. Sorry. No, seriously. If you look at their dashboard, what they really measure kind of gives you a hint on it. And there's I'm sorry I can't remember his name, but there was one guy I spoke with live, and he was fantastic. But there's a bunch of people that have courses, or you could, keep looking into it in YouTube. But for me, it's mainly been trial and error. And the biggest thing with YouTube is consistency. It takes a very, very, very long time. I hope that helped you. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And Dave will be running the show next week, and I'll be back the week after. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care.
Be great, y'all.